That tweet sparked a bit of a debate on Twitter with Andy, who was a speaker at Config this year and just said stuff about this weather app using the MakeDesign AI is really close to the iOS design, which makes sense. And again, it feels as if even doesn't really explain the thing that I understood during config, so that's a bit weird to me. But I did reply to this. The reason why it is so close to the iOS design is because Figma is using the mobile app kit that they have built or the website kit that they have built, which is based on Mateo UI 3 or Mateo U and iOS 18. And they have built these two UI kits for the Make Design in collaboration with iOS and Google for Mateo. And so to me, it does make sense because it's like, yeah, we've told you that during config, saying this is going to be based on the UI kits that we have built with these brands. So it's going to be limited. And so Dylan had a full on thread. They explain everything. Apparently, they have removed the AI features from Figma right now, so it's not available. I don't understand why they are apologizing on that. I think what they should apologize for is this specific tweet, which is currently the state of the AI features are opt out instead of opt in. And that is what most designers right now are complaining about. I don't know. I think Gleb had a pretty good explanation of that. Apparently, it's pretty true. As in, everyone at Figma works on AI to rush it before config, so they didn't work on any other features. Therefore, everything is pushed with AI first during config, but then Figma had to pour AI because of the results were not good, meaning that we had during config again is basically a new UI with rounded corners, and that's it, which is true. Is a problem with them using our data to train is the fact that they are using our data to replace our purpose. It is the definition of a backstab. Not necessarily, I think. So, I get your point. 100%. I agree with it. I think, personally speaking, and that's what they said during config as well. My views of the endpoints is going to be Figma having the ability to be trained on my design system and my personal styles and design and things only with the structural training of Apple design or Mateo UI or things, and just basically applying my style to these patterns. But again, the AI builder designer things that they have is going to be great for first drafts and tests and attempts. But then again, if you take the AI image generation as a reference, AI generation of images has been growing so fast that AI generated images had to be trained on top of AI generated images, and it now creates fucked up shit. If that goes the same way, AI generated designs are going to be trained on top of AI generated design that may have issues or like layout, composition issues, things that a designer with experience would know how to fix. But the AI is just trained on a series of lines of code, and this is how it looks. And they don't really understand why you're putting like a spacing of 4, spacing of 16 there on that specific thing. There is no real connection between the structure and the design. So even though the currently generated designs are interesting, I feel like if it's AI generated design training, AI generating design, it's gonna fuck up more. I feel it's not to replace you, it's to help the first drafts and help you as the designer to be faster. I really think, based on what Dylan said during the keynote, that their end goal is to be able to train the AI on your own design. I do feel like the AI should be trained on guidelines rather than components. And right now it seems to have been trained on components, which I understand. We all have the feeling that currently AI is the buzzword and the hyped feature that everyone needs to implement. And there is probably a ton of stakeholder and Figma side that have pushed for growth of the platform and profit, and being in a capitalistic environment, then Figma needs to appease the stakeholders by releasing things that are making sense in the eyes of the stakeholders. Therefore, they needed to do some AI shit. Technically, what Dylan said on stage, which is Figma MakeDesign feature, is based on the UI kit and design system that they have built in collaboration with Apple and material design teams. And they have built the design system based on these two things. Therefore, what is coming out of it is going to be really app oriented or Material U oriented. And if the prompt is asking for some sort of a mobile thing, it's going to be mostly iOS based. And if the prompt is asking for a desktop thing, it's going to mostly generate something that is Material U oriented. So when we did the check last week and we generated this mobile streaming platform where the top section is mostly Material U, and then the rest of the underneath design is mostly iOS based. So that full article saying that it's like a ripoff of Apple's design, it's not. It's just built with the iOS guidelines and the iOS components. So obviously it looks the same. It's weird to have any fucking outlet jumping on that saying, oh, it's a ripoff. It's not. It's just, if you listen to the fucking keynote, you would understand what they have presented. The main issue that I'm seeing with that vision of being able to train an AI on the thing that you have built, you need to have built things in order to train the AI on the thing that you have built. And that comes at a price of only a specific type of designers would have the ability to do such thing. And the newer generation of designers will not have the ability to do such things because they don't have the experience. So they would, in the beginning, rely on the AI to generate things. Then what they will think is good is going to be what the AI is generating. And then maybe they're going to attempt here and there to say, oh, on these specific section, we need to have more space or we need less radius. But they would just attempt and experiment at a level that is so tiny. They will not have the ability to really be good. So only the seniors, myself, that have seen the evolution of things will have a good time with AI in the beginning. I don't know how things are going to go personally. In order to get the AI to be good, I need to be able to train it on a ton of data. We're going to need such a massive database of content to be able to say, okay, so that specific style is mine. And the ability to do such thing, even for a designer like me, is almost impossible because I've worked on things like in that specific example. This is a very flat environment, very square. There is a lot of glass elements and overlapping content, all of that. And here, this is a very basic structure. And there is a lot more interesting, subtle stuff like the arc right there, the icons that I had to build for these specific project. On this one, it's a luxury project, but it's also based on a very specific design style at the time. This one is a flat design, which is similar to the first one, but it's more rounded. So you can't really say that any of these have one singular style that is mine. So I don't really know how I would be able to personally train an AI assistant that would help me build design faster based on my own things. And even if I had built, I don't know,
Mom!
something like this, which contains components and behaviors and all of that, it is still such a surface level UI kit that using that as a base, other than saying this is a button, this is an input field, this is the behavior if you need to have some glass effect, there is no structural behavior paperwork in that thing. There's nothing that says, okay, so if you have a glass card, it needs to be on top of something that is not plain color, otherwise it makes no sense. If you have a section that needs to be split into two columns, is it behaving like two squares, or is it like one is bigger than the other? There is nothing that is defined. So I don't know how the AI is going to be trained on my own content and figure out my style. So again, I think it should be the MakeDesign sketches, like wireframes, because that way we can have technically the structure, technically the layout, meaning that we can make wireframes for a concept that will help us to go faster afterward to get the design rolling. So instead of doing a sketch on paper, I can ask the AI to make wireframes in Figma, and then I just have to replace content with the component that I have already built. Anywho, going back to not talking about Figma AI stuff.